Hari Om. Today we will proceed with Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18 from verse 41. Now, in the previous verses that we have just discussed over the last few lessons, Lord Krishna was speaking about the gunas, and he concluded that in verse number 40 by saying that there is nothing in this creation, whether on earth or whether in the heavens also, anything that is moving or non-moving, everything has the three gunas in them. And the three gunas therefore influence our whole personality, what are our likes, what are our dislikes, what type of knowledge we are inclined to, what type of actions that we do. Everything is governed by the predominating gunas. So although the three gunas are in everyone, in everything moving and non-moving, Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic, there will always be one guna that dominates over the other two. And that dominating guna will be our deciding personality. So having explained that now, we come to some very important verses from 41 to 44. And there is this misconception about the caste system. So today this caste system is very clearly explained in this verses 41 to 44. So let us understand what is the true caste system. So the most misunderstood and wrongly criticized caste system is very clearly explained. And there is, what is explained here is that there is a fourfold caste system. So there is a caste system in our religion. It is of four categories, but very important to note that the caste system is based on the individual gunas. What is our predominating guna? That is our caste. It is not governed by which family we are born into. So this is very important to note, because the other type of caste system where they talk about low caste and untouchables and all this does not exist in our scriptures. It is because that is based on which family you are born. But the right caste system is based on our predominating gunas. So each individual, regardless of which family they are born in, must take up that profession according to the gunas, or they are identified by the guna. That way they are identified in that profession. So now let us look at this. Okay. Now the present day caste system, which is people wrongly identify, is they say you're born in this family of that caste. So that is definitely not the right caste system. It is a man-made caste system. So according to the scriptures, what is your guna? That is your caste, and you must take up the duty, the appropriate duty according to your inherent nature. Okay, taking up the duty according to our nature, going against it, goes in line with our nature. And when we surrender our actions to the Lord, all our actions become an offering to the Lord. Result of this is inner purification. The mind gets pure, and that leads to a thirst for knowledge, and then one attains this Atma Gyan or self-knowledge. So now let us look at this system, the fourfold caste system. First is a person who is sattvic predominant. That means sattva is the strongest dominating factor in this person. But that person will also have some rajas and very little tamas. So let us call this definition SRT. S for sattva, backed by rajas and very little tamas, SRT. Now anyone who has this combination is known as a Brahmana. So when you have this SRT type of gunas, your aptitude or your interest will be in attaining knowledge, imparting knowledge, sharing knowledge in society. So who are the Brahmanas? They are, for example, the priests who have the knowledge to do prayers and who have the knowledge to who have the scriptural knowledge to give scriptural lectures. Also, you talk about the scientists, the lecturers in the universities. These are all our Brahmanas. So that we understand Brahmana. Second category I will call as RST. R stands for Rajasic predominant, backed by Sattva and very little Tamas. So RST. Now RST type of person is called a Kshatriya. Kshatriya means one who has an inclination to serve and protect society. So such a person will take up public administration, go into government service, maintenance of law and order, army, navy, police, etc. That is a Kshatriya. Third category is called RTS. Predominant Rajasic, backed by Tamas and very little Sattva. So RTS person is called a Vaishya. Vaishya means a person who's got an inclination to do business, who is involved in agriculture, trade, commerce. So all those present day Vaishyas are those who are involved in businesses, who are running trade and commerce. Now the difference between a Kshatriya and a Vaishya. Kshatriya is Rajasic predominant, Vaishya is also Rajasic predominant, but the difference is Kshatriya is backed by Sattva, so it is RST, whereas Vaishya is backed by Tamas, so it is RTS. What does it mean? It means the Kshatriya is active, he's got Rajas in him, but he works hard to serve society. Vaishya also is Rajas, so he's very active, but he works hard to profit for himself. That is the difference. Then the fourth category is what we call TRS. Tamasic predominant, backed by Rajas, very little Sattva. Such a person is called a Shudra. Shudra is one who is not interested in gaining knowledge. He's not interested in serving in administration and all that. But he has got an aptitude for serving people. That means he will be involved in manual labor and service. So nowadays you have many people who do this manual labor and service. They are called Shudras. So therefore, everything, not only human beings, plants, animals, insects, all have the three gunas in various proportions, including the Devas and the Asuras. There is nothing in creation that is free from these three gunas. So a human being should have the ability to analyze and take up the right duties and responsibilities in accordance to one's gunas. Now, if a person does not want to follow guna-based system sanctioned by the scriptures, then the person is free to follow his family tradition. So if you are born in a family of doctors, you may want to be a doctor. You're born in a family of businessmen, you might want to take up business. That is your choice. And there is a third choice also. You may not want to follow your inherent nature. You might not want to follow your family tradition, but you may choose to follow a path of your career or your work which gives the highest material rewards. That also happens in society. But if you choose according to your gunas and follow the profession, that is called following the caste system as sanctioned by the scriptures. Okay. Now, another thing we must note about this caste system as given by the scriptures, it does not categorize that one caste is superior and another caste is inferior, because it is clearly written in the Rig Veda. It is written of this cosmic person. The Brahmana is the mouth of the supreme cosmic person. So the Brahmana is his mouth. The arms were transformed into a Kshatriya. The thighs became the Vaishyas. The Sudras originated from the feet. That means all the four divisions are part and parcel of that supreme being. So there is nothing more inferior or more superior. They are all part and parcel of that one creator. So, and we must notice, if one particular limb of a person does not function, then that whole person is not able to serve. For example, if we may have a mouth to speak, we may have hands, but if we don't have legs, then it does pose a problem. So we cannot say legs are not important, mouth is more important than leg, or leg is more important than hand. Every component of the body is important. In the same way, all four of these castes are important for the functioning of society. So, therefore, we have understood now this caste system according to these four divisions. And what should we do here? The Lord explains now briefly what are the four caste system. Starting in verse number 41, he says, the fourfold classification consisting of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Cha and Sudras. Karmani, duties of these four classes have been very fully, very clearly, vibhaktani, have been classified or divided. So very clearly the Vedas have given us in great detail the duties of the four castes, Brahmana, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras. Okay, so everything has been given very clearly, there is no confusion. So we should not just listen to what other people say about the caste system, but refer to the original texts in the Vedas. So these four classes, Krishna goes on to say in verse number 41, are not classified according to the family you're born, but he says very clearly here in verse 41, it is based on the swabhava, mean one's own nature. What is your nature? What is your inclination? Two children born in the same family can have different interests. One wants to become a lawyer, one wants to become a scientist. It happens in every family or many families. So according to one's swabhava, Lord says, prabhave, which is born out of what? Your nature is determined by what? The Lord says it is prabhave, it is born or governed by gunaha, according to your gunas, according to your predominating gunas. And where did these gunas come from? From the actions you committed in the past, made the particular guna strong, and that guna today is influencing or governing your nature. So understand, it is not based by the family you're born, it is based from individual to individual. Okay, and we have to take up our work according to this. So it's very clear now. Now from verses 42, 43, 44, Krishna will give a brief idea of the work of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra. Okay, so there is a text which is known as the Vashishta Smriti, in which sage Vashishta gives a list or duties of the four classes. So he says in the Vashishta Smriti, the Brahmin has 6 duties. So see, people say Brahmin means high class, but that is again a misconception. Very clearly in Vashishta Smriti, it is given the Brahmin has 6 duties. What is it? Study, teaching, performance of sacrifice, that means doing prayers for others, giving charity, and acceptance of gifts. What are the duties of a Kshatriya? Again, according to Vashishta Smriti, duties are 3. Study, sacrifice with charity, and armed protection of the subjects. Vaishya's duty, cultivation, trade, animal husbandry, and usury, which is called money lending. And Sudra, the duty is to serve the other 3 classes. So there is nothing high class, low class, superior, inferior, nothing at all. Now in this verse number 42, 9 duties or qualities of a Brahmana are given by Krishna. And what are the duties here? He says, nature of a Brahmana. How do you describe who is a Brahmana? He says, Brahmana is one who has Shamaha. The word Shamaha is given here, verse 42, chapter 18. Shamaha means control of the internal organ, meaning having what we call a disciplined mind, quietude of mind, a mind which is introvert, always thinking and contemplating. So that is one of the qualities of a Brahmana. Second is Damaha. Damaha means control of the external organs, leading a disciplined life, of controlling the senses. So one who has a perfect discipline and control over his or her senses. Second quality. Third quality, tapaha, austerity, which in chapter 17 Krishna had explained. Tapaha covers three areas: austerity of body, austerity of mind, austerity of speech. You can refer back to chapter 17 verses 14, 15, 16. Okay. Next quality of a Brahmana, saucham, maintaining purity or cleanliness, again at all three levels: physical or body cleanliness, mental cleanliness, and also the words that you speak must be pure and clean also, saucham. Shanti, next quality, the capacity to forgive, have patience, have tolerance for others. Arjavam, leading a life of straightforwardness, always walking the path of truth. There is harmony in actions, words and thoughts. That is Arjavam. Jnanam. Jnana means endowed with knowledge, always inclined to study the scriptures and be engaged in constant contemplation. Vijnanam, the person is endowed with wisdom. So that is Jnanam, is having knowledge, leads to Vijnanam, the one is endowed with wisdom. Next quality, Astikyam, having faith, unshakable faith. Okay, so all these qualities are given, the Lord says. So he says, these are Brahmana, meaning such a person who has all these qualities as mentioned in verse 42. Karma are the 9 duties or qualities. So with this type of what we call inner qualities, that is what is called a Brahmana. And where did this come from? Swabhavajam. It is born out of his own nature. It is very natural. So somebody who by nature has any one or many of these qualities, immediately we can call that person a Brahmana. So notice again, it has nothing to do with the family which you are born. A Brahmana can be born in any family, in a family of laborers, in a family of bankers, in a family of lawyers. But these are the qualities that define a Brahmana. Now verse 43, the Lord gives 7 qualities of a Kshatriya. Okay? Again, Kshatriya is one who is engaged in government service, administration, maintenance of law and order, etc. What are the qualities of a Kshatriya? Sauryam, heroism, the tendency to take on battle with those who are more stronger, more powerful than you. So a Kshatriya is one who is prepared to protect dharma, and even if somebody is more powerful than him, who is doing something wrong, a Kshatriya will carry on battling that person. Tejaha, boldness, who does not get easily cowed by an enemy. Dhriti, fortitude, perseverance, willpower, determination to carry out the duties. Daksham, capability, using whatever resources which are available, money, power, to carry out the duties, not to serve themselves, using that power, using the financial resources to serve society, to serve and uplift society. And also apalayanam, yuddhe. Apalayanam means not retreating from yuddhe, battle, not running away from threats of enemies or challenges. And specifically, this is being targeted to Arjuna to tell him that as a Kshatriya, this is one of the qualities. You are Kshatriya, you should not be thinking of running away from this battle. And finally, the last quality is, the next quality is dhanam or generosity, giving of charity. So, in those days, Kshatriyas, kings were called Kshatriyas, and they had immense wealth, and they used this wealth to give to their subjects who needed help. So, it was one of the duties of a king to give away, to donate money, clothes, food to the subjects who needed it. And then the final quality given here is Ishvara Bhava, which means lordliness, manifesting one's power or authority for what purpose? To put down the right rule of order. So a Kshatriya is one who enforces, who uses his power or authority to enforce the right rule of order. For what purpose? For the protection of the subjects. So to see that justice is served. So the Lord says, Kshatram, meaning one who is involved as a Kshatriya, karma, all the above duties and responsibilities as described in this verse, Subhavajam, are born out of the very nature of the person. It is a natural inclination of the person to have all these qualities, and when the person has these qualities, he or she is known as a Kshatriya. Now we can look at some very interesting examples in our text. For example, the case of Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra was born in a family of Kshatriyas, but he had no interest in the duties of a Kshatriya. He had the very nature of a Brahmana. So later Vishwamitra became a renowned sage, and Vishwamitra is associated, or his greatest achievement of glory is, he is the initiator of the Gayatri Mantra. So his story is narrated in Valmiki Ramayana and in Mahabharata. So we can see that the caste system is not a fixed, rigid system. Vishwamitra, born in a family of Kshatriyas, but had no interest, he became a Brahmana. He had inclination for knowledge, contemplation, study, etc. And he became a renowned sage. So there are many other examples also given in the scriptures. Now verse 44 tells us the 3 duties of Vaishya and 1 duty of a Sudra. So Vaishya duty is any activity that results in the production of goods and the creation of wealth. So what is this duties of a Vaishya? Krishi means agriculture, plowing the earth for producing food, selling that grains to earn income, etc. Gaurakshyam is animal husbandry. In ancient times, the Vaishyas were the ones who reared the cattle, etc. And Vanijam means occupation of a trader, engaging in money lending, etc. So these duties, karma, subhavajam, again are born of a nature of a person. So any person by his nature takes up money lending, animal husbandry, agriculture, etc. is to be known as a Vaishya. And finally, what is about the duties of a Sudra? There's one classification given here, Paricharyatmakam, in the form of service to the other 3 classes. So the Shudra is one who does the manual work for the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas. He serves them. And labor and manpower are also very important, because in a society, when the labor or manual workers, they go on strike, the society also gets badly affected. So all 4 classes are very important to the right functioning of the society. We cannot say that one is superior or one is inferior. And this also Lord says is Subhavajam, is born out of the natural inclination of a person to serve also. So this is now the explanation of how the gunas affect us, and if we are what we call aware of this, we should analyze our nature and take up the profession according to our gunas, according to our nature. So that's up to verse number 44. Now, in 45, the Lord explains the importance of this. He says, first of all, the Lord says in verse 45, Abhirataha, be devoted, be committed to what? Sway karmani, to your own duty. The duty that you have taken up according to your nature. Be dedicated, be committed to the duty. So do not just compare your duty to other people. Like you see other people, maybe they are what you call making more money or they're becoming more famous. But according to your nature, you should take up the duty which is suited to your own inherent nature. Okay? Do not compare your duty with other people's duty. That looks like more enjoyable, that looks more easier to do. My duty seems very difficult. No. The Lord says, Sway karmanihi abhirataha. Be devoted, be committed to your duty. And all duties, if performed with the right attitude, that is very important. Not the duty we are doing, but important to follow the right attitude. What is that attitude? To surrender our actions to the Lord. To consider ourselves as an instrument in the hands of the Lord. So the Lord says all duties performed with the right attitude will lead to the same goal. The purpose of performing duty is for inner purification, what we call Atma Suddhi, that is for mental purification. The Lord says here, a person who is dedicated to his duties, surrenders to the Lord, performs all his duties, Naraha, such a human being, Labate, attains Samsiddhini, complete perfection. So the right attitude in performing our duties leads to Chitta Shuddhi, inner purification. And when the mind is purified, there will definitely arise in us the thought to attain knowledge. So the Lord says now in this verse number 45, Shrunu, listen. When you listen, tat, to that, yatha, as to how, swakarmanaha nirataha, one who is devoted to one's own duty. Supposing a person who is devoted, committed to his duty, the Lord says, listen now, how that person vindati attains siddhi. So the Lord is going to give us now the key. What is that attitude we must cultivate in our work? Any work, whatever work or profession we do, whether from a housewife to an engineer, to a lawyer, to a teacher, whatever work we do, what is that attitude? The Lord says, listen and I will explain to you how a person devoted to his or her duty, vindati, attains siddhi, perfection. How a life of Karma Yoga, if lived correctly according to the principles of Karma Yoga, can convert all our work into worship. And that person will attain the spiritual goal also. So that the Lord will start to explain from verse 46. And when we come back in the next lesson, we will pick up chapter 18, verse number 46. Hari Om Tat Sat.